Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I would like to present about my final year project, which is investigation of oil palm empty fruit bunch Opefb tablet as a green corrosion inhibitor for mild stills. Before I proceed to my presentation, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Amin Shah bin Iskandar Shah and my matric number is 181773 and my supervisor is Dr. Shafriza Sobri. Okay, the first keyword that have been identified from my title is oil palm empty fruit bunch (OPEFB). In a typical palm oil mill, empty fruit bunch are available in abundance as a fibrous material of purely biological origin. Empty fruit bunch is the suitable raw material because it is an organic inhibitor that might be able to avoid a pollution compared to the inorganic inhibitor, which have high toxicity and might pollute the environment. The figure 1 show the picture of empty fruit bunch. For the second keyword is tablet. Tablets are the most popular pharmaceutical dosage form with numerous advantages such as providing patient compliance, precise dosage, easy to manufacture, can be produced at relatively low cost, highly more stable than oral liquid dosage forms, portable, and its ability to be molded into a variety of shapes. Tablet can be manufactured by the following technique, which is wet granulation, dry granulation, and direct compressions. Wet granulation method is more unique process in the production of tablet, while dry granulation requires more processing control and has low reproducibility. As for direct compression, it only involves two primary processes, which is mixing and compression to produce tablets. For the third keyword is green corrosion inhibitor. Green corrosion inhibitor are biodegradable and do not contain heavy metals or other toxic compounds. And the last keyword is mild steel. Mild steel is a kind of steel having a lower proportion of carbon than hardenable steels, rendering it softer and more malleable. Mild steel also are relatively less expensive, and also it provides material properties that are acceptable for many applications and also have been used at any industries nowadays. For the introduction part, I will explain about the definition of corrosion. Corrosion can be depicted as the steady destruction of material regularly on metal by chemical reaction with its environment. Corrosion is one of the factors of damage or degradation of metal and alloy structure. Figure 3 shows that metal that damaged because of corrosion. Various types of methods have been studied to prevent and avoid the destruction or degradation of metal surface. The corrosion inhibitor is one of the best way of corrosion protection and one of the most useful on the industry. Protective coating on metal using organic molecules, plastic, polymer, and catalytic and analytic protection using organic or inorganic inhibitor are the most practically way to avoid corrosions. And green corrosion inhibitor is a biodegradable and do not contain toxics. So nowadays green corrosion inhibitor is commonly in a liquid forms, so that's why we want to produce in a tablets, so it have more better efficiency compared to the liquid form. For the literature review, corrosion. Corrosion can be defined in the term of science or engineering term. In the context of engineering, corrosion can be defined as the reaction between a metal and environmental that resulting a deterioration of metal, while in the context of science, corrosion can be defined as the reaction of solid with the environment. Corrosion can occur with the presence of chemical and physical factor. Corrosion processes are responsible for numerous losses, mainly in the industrial scope. It is proof that the best method to solve and combat it is prevention. Manufacturing tablet by direct compression. According to Gohel and Jogani 2005, there are three ways of tablet manufacturing, which is wet granulation, dry granulation, and direct compressions. Direct compression is another method of tablet manufacturing. According to Prescott and Hosfield 1994, direct compression is a method involving compaction of the bulk material consisting of a composite ingredient forming a tablet without the use of granulations. The steps that involved in the method are mixing and compressing. Direct compression is the most popular method that have been used in industry due to economic and time scale aspect. The processing time of the method is short and it's required the less unit process. According to Volhus 1996, the dissolution rate of the tablet by using this method is high as the tablet disintegrates into the primary particle rather than into the granule. For the problem statements, in engineering field, steel is widely used in different applications as it's one of the major construction materials in the industry for the production of some automobile components such as ships, building, plant, pipelines, bridge and tin cans. To fortify the solidness of any plants, especially in acidic conditions, corrosion inhibitor is utilized as a protection from degradation metal used for equipment. Corrosion inhibitor is a substance of mixture that can avoid or minimize the corrosion with low concentrations. The metal have been used is mild steels as it has relatively less expensive. It provides materials properties that are acceptable for many applications and also have been used at any industries nowadays. M3 branch is a destructible raw material because it is organic inhibitor that might be able to avoid pollution compared to the inorganic inhibitor which have high toxicity and might pollute the environment. The EFB corrosion inhibitor in the form of liquid nowadays is not friendly to be used because it do not have a specific weight or volume to inhibit the metal, and sometimes it's overused. By making a tablet, the inhibitor may have better disintegration time as it will slowly and uniformly distribute to the metals and becomes more efficient compared to the green corrosion inhibitor in the liquid form. And according to the Sando and Marwaha 2010s, tablets are the most famous pharmaceutical dosage form with a various preference, for example giving patient compliance and exact dose and simple processing methods. The processing method to manufacture tablets is by wet granulations, dry granulations, and direct compressions. The objective of this project is to investigate the properties of oil palm empty fruit bunch tablet by study their density, elastic recovery, and tensile strength. The second objective is to investigate the effect of compression force between 10 kN and to 90 kN, loading rate between 1 to 3 mm per minute, and mixing ratio in the inhibition efficiency. And the last one is to study the properties of the tablet compaction by determining its uniformity of weight, hardness, friability, disintegration time, and dissolution time. For the methodology part, this is the list of equipment and materials that have been used in these studies. For the preparation of inhibitor, we use a grinder, oven with 70 degrees Celsius, cutter and compression machines. And the preparation of specimens, we use a mild steel, oven with 70 degrees Celsius, iron cutter, sandpaper and hydrochloric acids. For the preparation of inhibitor, the EFB was collected from oil palm meal, which is a Darby Sinalbahat, and then the stalk and inner part of OPEFB were removed by using a cutter. Then the spikelets of the EFB were cut in a small piece at approximately 10 mm length. Then it's dried in an ovens at temperature 70 degrees Celsius for 1 day. Then it was then grinded until it's become fine sized particles. And the last step is the compression are applied to the powder and EFB become a tablet. After we have a EFB in a powder form, we do the powder characterizations, which is the first one is on the particle size. Particle size was determined by using a laser particle analyzers, Melvin 2000 instrument Ltd UK, and it is important to determine the particle size because it affects the tensile strength and density of the tablet. And the powder was tested using the particle analyzer and the data was recorded. For the bulk density, But density can be defined as the dry weight of powder per unit volume of powder. It is determined manually by pouring 25 gram of Opefb powder into a 100 milliliter graduate measuring cylinder. It was handled carefully to avoid the powder from being compact. The volume was then recorded and the bulk density was calculated by using the equation below. And M is stand for weight of powder, VB is stand for volume of powder without tapping. For the tap density was measured by pouring approximately 25 gram of Opefb powder sample into a 100 milliliter graduated measuring cylinder. The sample was gently tapped until a constant volume is achieved. The final volume was recorded and the tap density was calculated by using equation below. M is stand for weight of powder, VT is stand for volume of powder after tapping. For the true density of the powder sample was determined by using a gas cynometer. It used gas displacement method to determine accurate volume of sample at given mass. The sample chamber used for Opefb sample was 3.5 cubic centimeter. Okay, we have to determine the cut index and Hausner ratio. The Hausner ratio is defined as the ratio of tap density to the bulk density. The following equation is more practical equation that is widely used to calculate the Hausner ratio. So the equation below shows how to calculate the Hausner ratio, which is PT divided by PB, bulk density. And then we determine the cut index is. The cut index is defined as the ratio of the difference between tap density and the bulk density to the tap density. The widely used equation is that as follow. Okay, this is the methodology in a preparation of a compact in a tablet form. First, 3 different compression pressure from 10 to 90 kilonewton were used to prepare compact from the materials. And then sample of powder about 3 mg was compact. And the determined pressure was applied for 5 seconds for each compression pressure. So, and the last step is, this step was repeated 3 times for each level of compression pressure from 10 kilonewton to 90 kilonewton. For the analysis of mechanical properties for the tablet forms, mechanical properties of powder compacts, which is tablets, were evaluated by calculating the tensile strength T using the formula below. F is stand for force required to fracture the compacts, D is stand for diameter of the compacts, and T stand for thickness of the compact. And for the evaluation of tablets, we determine its uniformity of weights, and the way we determine is 20 tablets of each formulation were randomly selected and weighed on the individual tablet basis. The mean weight and standard deviation of the 20 tablets were reported. Since the mass of a tablet is 350 milligrams, the deviation of individual tablet mass should not exceed the limits of plus minus 5% from the average tablet mass. For the disintegration test, first, 6 tablets of each compression force applied were randomly selected for disintegration test using a beaker in the distilled water medium at a constant temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. The disintegration time was taken when no granule of the tablets was left in the disintegration apparatus. The mean and the standard deviation of 6 readings were reported. For the short-term extra stability study, the tablet results were kept in closed glass containers at 40 degrees Celsius for 3 and 6 months, and the tablet were evaluated in the same manner as above for uniformity of weight and disintegration. For the expected outcome for this project is to have a grain corrosion inhibitor in the form of tablets, and the second is to have oil palm empty fruit bunch tablet as a corrosion inhibitor and to commercialize it in the industrial scale. And the last one is to have a high efficiency of tablet to act as a corrosion inhibitor. Okay, this is the Gantt chart for this project, which is include of title selection, literature review, meeting with supervisor, thesis writing, video presentation, and the last one is the lab experiments. Okay, this is all of the reference during the study of this project. Okay, that's all for my final year project presentations. Thank you for your attention.